Professors DK and Ihanacho. And let me thank the Yale University, Yale Council on African Studies, and the Christie and Chinua Achebe Foundation for having me. Your Excellency, my other brother, Mr. Peter B. CON, my dear sister, Abia State. I was just accusing her that she didn't want to let me know that she was coming here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have paid for my ticket. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here. When I realized that I was going to be speaking with two professors of psychiatry, I was worried. This took me back to what happened exactly 10 years ago, when I was considering leaving my job as group CEO of Diamond Bank to run election. So my father had died in 1994, and I inherited another father, my father-in-law, who was very cerebral, but also fit into what Sister Abia described as those intelligentsia that keep away from politics. So I went to tell him that I was going to quit my job and run for governorship of my state. And his response was like, we need to really examine your head. How can you quit your job to go and run for election in an uncertain territory where they kill people? You can't. So it took me time to convince him before he gave me his nod. So I was wondering that nobody was attempting to examine my head here. But gave me in between two All right, direct answer to your question. I have been in politics for a while now, also 10 years. I contested in 2015. I believe I won that election. Everybody also believed I won the election, but it was stolen at the last month. So they tend to have done at that time would have been for me to just leave everything and go back to banking, because the opportunities were still open. My former employers were asking, okay, you tried it, you see how it is, now you need to come back. But somehow something kept telling me that I should maintain the course and remain where I was. And 2019, I contested again, and that was even worse because the votes were not counted and the results were just written and declared. So 2023, a lot of things happened, including the party where I was. So sometimes when people talk about political parties, quite unlike what happens here, political parties in Nigeria are simply platforms that people use to come to power. They don't have any major difference, just like P2B had said. The difference may just be in their names, but they are basically the same thing. And so the door was shut in the party that I was at that time. And it was a good time to just say, okay, bye-bye. But somehow, I refused to give up. At that time, I looked at all the political parties and I decided I was going to join Labour Party. There are a lot of things that happened. That was about 9 or 10 days before our leader gave me a call and said, oh, he used to call me CEO. The CEO, I hear you are in Labour Party. I said, yeah. He said, stay there, I'm coming. And then a few days later, he got the party's nomination, and the story changed. So what is the difference between the trade and the previous rounds? A lot of things happened. I think people were tired. The ruling party in Abia State at that time had also left a lot of ruins. Even within the party itself, it was imploding. And of course, we maintained a vigorous campaign. Our manifesto was very clear. We are determined. We knew what exactly we wanted to do. And like before, people got into our manifesto and came out and voted. What they normally did at that time was to use 1 or 2 local governments where they would write the numbers. They would just wait until all the other local governments have returned their tally, and then they will use 1 or 2 local governments to cancel out whatever had come from the polling units in all the other local governments. And that's exactly what they intended to do at this time. But then God actually did intervene, because he sent a returning officer, Professor Oti, who is no relation of mine. I never knew her. She's from Abia State, and I'm from Abia. And she insisted that she was not going to announce the fake results. That is why the 4 days interregnum, where we're going back and forth, and eventually INEC intervened from the center and insisted that the right thing be done. And on the 22nd of March last year, the election was declared, and I was declared the winner of the election. So a combination of factors direct answer to your question. 1, the people were determined. 2, the umpire was not compromised.
Yes.
And when I say the umpire, the returning officer, because the returning officer returns the election.
So I remember she had to go into hiding.
Yes, that she was determined. Because there were all sorts of threats after making humongous monetary offers to her, which she turned down. And of course, God also intervened. I'm a strong believer in God, and I believe everybody believes in God. Even if you don't think you believe in God, there's something you believe in, that is God. So I believe in God, and I know God intervened, because to send that returning officer, and by the way, she was not the one that returned the election of the leader of my party. There was a different returning officer. But just 2 days before the election, she was drafted to Abia. So that can only be the hand of God. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.